Hello everyone and welcome once again to The Crash. My name is Zeramis and on today's episode we are going to be discussing a minor balancing update that is set to be released by Supercell in the near future. They tweeted about it last night and then there was a pretty major uproar over one of the changes which was announced, and then they said that they weren't going to implement it, but now the rumor is that it's going to be coming out for tomorrow, and we're going to be getting into all the details about that one particular facet of the update, and I'll briefly skim over the other things. But before we get into that, if you're at all new to my channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you're at all interested in knowing when I upload any new videos, you can follow me on Twitter. The link is in the description of the video. Just go there, follow me, and then you'll receive notifications whenever I upload any new content. And now we can get into the bread and butter of this, which is the balancing update. So let's cover the minor things first, shall we? So first off, the cannon is receiving a boost to its damage, so it'll help kill miners faster and bowlers and things like that, so that's good. The cannon was already kind of weak. It had less range than an archer tower, it didn't target air, and yet it had the same damage as an archer tower, so for it to be able to actually do a little bit more damage, yeah, I think the cannon needs it. Another one of the changes was that the Eagle Artillery is going to not respond so early, I should say. So you're going to be able to drop more troops whenever you're going up against an Eagle Artillery before the thing's going to turn on and start shooting lasers at your face. So that's the change to the Eagle Artillery. And then the other one is the miners move slower. Now, people have been kind of talking about that being a buff, but I guess it depends on how slow the miners move, because if the miners move really, really slow, they're not going to be able to just overwhelm and clear out an entire base before the 3 minutes run out. So I guess it kind of depends on how slow they move while they're underground. I mean, they were saying it's kind of like a buff because while they're underground, they can't be hurt, so it'll help them live longer. But if it deters them from being able to actually get through the entire base within the time frame that's allowed for an attack, then it could technically be a nerf. So there's that. So we got the cannons, the miners, and the Eagle Artillery all out of the way. Now let's talk about the healer, which is the huge, gigantic change that everybody is absolutely in an uproar about. I can get into the details of why everybody is kind of upset with the thing, but let's talk about the changes first. Well, it's just one significant change, and that is the healers are going to start setting off the air traps again. Now, they kind of tweeted like, cue the seeking air mines, but somehow I doubt it's only the seeking air mines that are going to be going after the healers, because they didn't really specify. They just said healers are going to set off air traps. So I'm assuming that would mean the air bombs and any skeleton traps that are set to air as well are also going to go after the healers. So why is this such a huge deal? Well, it's a huge deal because back before my time, before I started playing Clash of Clans, or perhaps before I actually reached a town hall level where I actually had healers and could use them, healers used to set off the air traps before. And no one used them. No one used healers. And there's a reason for that. The main reason for no one using healers when healers set off the air traps is because healers support ground troops. Sure, the healers fly, but they don't heal flying troops. You can't send out a whole bunch of dragons and then follow them behind with healers, and the healers follow the dragons, healing the dragons while they fly through the base, grabbing all the mines, grabbing all the traps, etc., etc., etc. It doesn't work that way. Healers support ground troops, so you're going to be using healers to support a ground army that cannot clear the traps for you. So this ground army is going to proceed into the base with the support of its healers, and they're going to do absolutely nothing to protect the healers from being annihilated by the traps that are positioned all around this base. So we can look at it conversely. Look at almost any hog attack. Any hog attack. What happens? You're going to scout the base. You're going to look for potential places where there are double giant bombs. Double giant bombs are the big threat to hogs. Single giant bombs will do a lot of damage. They won't kill it. But if a hog paths, a group of hogs path, and trigger 2 giant bombs at the same time, no amount of heal is going to save them. Those hogs are just going to get annihilated by the double giant bomb. So you gotta try and find where those positions are. You look at the base and you try and say, this is probably a double giant bomb right here. And then when you launch your attack, you have your attack planned in such a way that your golems or your kill squad that's going after the clan castle or whatever is going to move in and try and trigger those bombs. So that way when you send the hogs in as part of phase 2, there are no double giant bombs that can kill them all. That's how that works. You send in the troops to set off the traps and clear the way for the hogs. Remember witches? Remember when witches used to be a thing and the skeletons set off the trap? What was the purpose of the witches? To spawn endless hordes of skeletons to run in and set off all the traps and clear paths and clear bomb spots and everything else. That's what people were using witches for. And then skeletons stopped setting off traps. And now what happens to witches? Not a damn thing. That's exactly what happens to witches. Nobody freaking uses them anymore because they're just not worth the weight and the cost. They're no longer an effective troop. So this is kind of what's happening to healers. Now, I've sat here and I've thought for the entire past 24 hours on any positive that could possibly come from changing the healers in this way. And the only thing that I can think of is, well, first off, Supercell is trying to encourage multi-phase attacks. That was the whole reason the Eagle Artillery was even created in the first place. Because if you spam all your troops down, then the Eagle Artillery wakes up and it just starts firing lasers at your army, and your army just gets wiped out. So you try and stagger, and you try and send in a little bit of your army, but not the whole thing, in order to do some work. Clear out some key defenses for your rest of your army that can come in and try and finish off the base or reach the Eagle Artillery. Some people try and make it so that they can reach the Eagle Artillery without activating it. That's probably pretty damn difficult. I wouldn't know. I'm not a Town Hall 11. I'm just a little Town Hall 8.5. But they've specifically stated that they're trying to encourage multi-phase attacks, and that's what the Eagle Artillery was even created, was to encourage these multi-phase attacks. Healers are a key troop for multi-phase attacks. That's what they're there for. They're like the greatest troop to support these kind of things, because typically your initial assault, you're not going to want to dump all of your spells to support your initial assault into the base that's being supported by these healers. You're going to want to have some of your spell power for the second phase of your attack, which is generally going to be like the main body of your force that's going to try and finish the base off, right? So healers are there to make sure that the first part of your attack survives long enough to accomplish their objective, so that when you send in the second half of your attack, it works. You know, if the healers can't support the first phase of the attack and they're just going to go in and get killed trying to support the attack, then the attack falters and doesn't get the job done, then the second phase of your attack is completely pointless because it's not going to get anywhere. So what's the only thing that I can see? Well, there's been a surge of HGHB and HPHB strategies. So for those who aren't aware of what those acronyms mean, it's Healers, Giants, Hogs, Bowlers, or Healers, P.E.K.K.A.s, Hogs, Bowlers, where Giants and Healers go in and they clear out the traps and things like that, and then you got Bowlers in there with them, and the Healers, Giants, and Bowlers go in and they clear out all the traps, and then once all the traps and stuff are done, the Hogs go in, and the Healers will wind up actually supporting the Hogs as well as the Bowlers, and that's how they kill the base. And in the HPHB, you're just swapping the Giants for P.E.K.K.A.s. And these two types of attacks, the HGHB and the HPHB, were very spammy. They were kind of spammy attacks, because you just, you create your funnel, and here comes your Giants, here comes your Healers, here comes your Bowlers, and then all those troops go in all at once, and then you just kind of surgically deploy a few Hogs around the base towards the back end of the attack. So it was kind of spammy, and Healers did make it pretty damn strong, but I don't think the problem with that attack is the healer portion of it. I think the problem with that attack is the Bowler portion of it. They did a slight modification to Bowler, and Bowler went from being completely underwhelming to being an incredibly overpowered troop almost. It's like borderline overpowered with the Bowlers. And Healers, like I said, the only thing they can do is follow troops around and heal them. They're not going to help you kill the base. Now, so cons-wise, like I said, they discourage multi-phase attacks, which is the whole Eagle Artillery thing, right? So making it so that they set off the traps, it just discourages the multi-phased attacks because you're not going to have the healers to support those phases anymore. And we talked about using hogs and sending in ground units in front of them in order to clear traps so that the hogs don't run blindly into double giant bombs and just get annihilated. But there really isn't a counterpart for healers in this regard. The ground attack works because your giants, or well, yeah, I suppose you could say giants, but giants, golems, Valkyries, all these kind of troops, wizards, they're going to go in and they're doing damage. They're taking out part of the base while they're proceeding forward in order to clear the bombs for the hogs. They don't just kind of like run up and do nothing and try and trigger the traps. It doesn't work that way. So what are the counterparts to the flying unit that could support a healer in this way by flying ahead of the healer and grabbing the traps? Well, Baby Dragon doesn't really work because, well, the healer is a flying thing, and we all know about baby dragons and flying things and how much they absolutely love being around other things that fly, right? So baby dragon's not really an option. Doesn't have enough HP really to tank, and it loses its rage effect if it's near a healer. So what about a dragon? Okay, dragon would kind of okay work. It's fairly tanky. It does some damage, and it'll proceed forward, but trying to actually predict where the dragon is going to go can be difficult, especially if you've got a ground attack associated with the healer that's doing work while the dragon is there as well. But dragon is maybe a possibility. And then, of course, you have the Lava Hound, which costs 30 camp space, and it'll fly straight ahead and ignore entirely everything until it reaches an air defense, and it'll set off every trap along the way. But then you're losing 30 space for a troop that doesn't really do a whole lot of damage, and it's not really there to serve a purpose other than setting off traps for the healers. If I were going to say, I'd probably say take a dragon instead. It costs less camp space, and it can actually do some work along the way while hopefully being able to protect the healer. The issue is if the ground troops that the healers are supporting go one way and the dragon goes another way. So that's kind of the problem with it. Like, the healer's trying to support a ground army that can't set off traps, so you have to kind of, you're forced into trying to force this troop into your army composition for no other purpose other than to protect your healers. And it just doesn't seem very practical, really, to just throw a dragon into your army that takes up 20 more camp space. So that's 20 space that you have to lose from the ground part that the healers are there to support in order to protect the healers. So if you start taking too much away from the ground portion of the attack, then what the heck are the healers there for anymore, right? So let's talk about the camp space. 4 healers, you're looking at 56 camp space to take 4 healers. If you throw a dragon in on top of that, now you're looking at 76 camp space to get 4 healers and 1 dragon that's going to fly ahead of the healers and try and absorb damage. Now, the dragon itself can only take, so much damage, particularly if it gets picked up by an air defense or if it takes a seeking air mine. It's probably not going to last long. So 1 dragon probably isn't going to protect your healers for all that long when all is said and done. So you might need a couple of dragons, and if you start getting into 2 dragons for 4 healers, then you're looking at 96 camp space. So that's almost half of an army at Town Hall 9. It's a fairly significant portion of an army at Town Hall 10. So, like I said, it's just making armies impractical in order to try and protect your healer. It's just, I don't see how it's going to work. And I've tried really, really hard to try and come up with a counter that says this all makes sense and this is why, and now I'm gonna kind of play devil's advocate, go on Supercell's side and go against the voices, but I just can't. I can't see any reason why this change is going to be beneficial to gameplay, or beneficial in particular to the multi-phased attacks that they've said that they want to encourage. I just don't see it happening. And, maybe I'm missing a point. Maybe I don't quite get it. I mean, I'm not a game developer. I try to understand this stuff and I try to think about it intelligently, but maybe I'm missing something. If you guys have any knowledge that I don't have, please share it with me. Enlighten me. I invite you to enlighten me in this regard. You can leave a comment in the comment section of the video. You can send me a tweet on Twitter. The link to my Twitter account is in the description of the video. Send me a tweet, drop a comment, let me know what I'm missing, because I don't get it, and no one else seems to be able to get it, because honestly, the only thing I see this healer change doing is making healers totally useless to where nobody uses them again, and what that's going to do is encourage spammy attacks where they're trying to get all their troops on the field all at once in order to do the most amount of damage possible as quickly as possible so that their troops just don't wind up dead. And that's what I see happening here. So that is going to do it for this episode of The Crash. If you've enjoyed my little rant here about the healer situation, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, show me a little bit of support. Also, there's going to be a little annotation appearing on the screen right about now, and if you want to, you can click it and follow it. It'll take you to a campaign that I've started in order to try and build up some support for this channel and improve the quality of everything that I have to offer here. It's entirely optional. It's entirely up to you. If you want to click on the link and go there, you can check out a little video that I've made about the topic. But yeah, it's entirely optional. There's no requirements. I'm going to keep putting out content no matter what. And if you want to help me out, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. So that's going to do it. This has been The Crash. My name is Zeramus, and I look forward to seeing you all next time.